Welcome to the Word on Wednesday, a virtual Bible study. Stay tuned for your midweek motivation.
Hello, and thank you to each and every one of you all for joining us for Word on Wednesday, our virtual Bible study. Bring you greetings from one of the most favorite places in my home, which is my library, the place that I sit and study and spend time with the Lord. And because I value your time as well, and the fact that you took time out to join us, let's just get to it this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you are. At Metro, we have a mantra, we have a model that we operate in, what we call transparency. There's no need, as Grandma used to say, to put on airs because all of us have some issues. All of us have some stuff that we're working on. So our choice is to be transparent. And listen, even though I get the mic on a regular basis, make no mistake about it, I am far from perfect. All of you all have some issues and struggles in our life, and all you have to do if you want to know if that statement is true about me is to ask Lady Chanel. You don't even have to pay her. She will tell you that sometime I am flawed, I am fickle, and funny acting on occasions. And even though I have an extensive vocabulary, I've not been delivered from sometimes even engaging and using some colorful language from time to time. Y'all pray for me. And don't even dare to look at the screen that way because you're not all of that in a bag of chips as well. You may not do some things, but all of us have something that we do, something that we're not happy with, that we're not proud about, and that we should be working on. I'm just grateful that the Lord has found enough on the inside of me to still use me. Make no mistake about it. The Lord has been good to me as he has been good to many of us. And not because of what we do, but in spite of sometimes of the things that we still do. God still blesses me, blesses us, and sees the best in us when we can't even see the best in ourselves sometimes. So can I be transparent? I know what it means for the Lord to really look beyond your faults and still to meet your needs. But I'm not foolish enough, beloved. I'm not foolish enough not to recognize that the Lord is long-suffering, but he's not forever suffering. That means that we have to come to a point sometimes in our life that we recognize that we can't continue operating in the same manner, in the same way that we used to. We can't continue to put the Lord to the test. The grace and mercy that the Lord affords us is to allow us enough time to recognize his goodness and his mercy and to make the necessary adjustments and changes in our lives. There must come a time in all of our lives when we become sick and tired of being sick and tired. There has to come a time in all of our lives when we make up our mind that it's time for some things to change in our lives. And if you haven't taken inventory during this pandemic, today might just be a good day. At some point, you have to look in the physical mirror and the spiritual mirror of your life and say, look, do I or am I really reflecting the goodness and mercy that God is sending into my life? And during this time of social distancing from one another, now is a good time to get a close assessment of where we really are, to get a close assessment of ourselves. And fortunately, a couple of months ago, I'll go first since I got the mic. Prior to this pandemic, I had one of those look in the mirror moments where I had to really take a hard look at myself. I'm being transparent today and ask myself, I said, self, are you really walking the walk? Are you really reflecting the discipline and the discipleship that you preach about to others? Are you really carrying the word not only in mouth and audibly, but are you really exercising the principles of God? Or are you really like the Pharisees and Sadducees that the Lord spoke about in Matthew, where he said you can listen to what they say, but don't do what they do? Can I be transparent? I said to myself, self, how can you preach How can you speak about discipline and discipleship and you're really not demonstrating discipline in your own life? So a couple months ago, I decided that it was time for a lifestyle change. I hired me a personal trainer that I shared with some of you all. His name is Mike Short. He is my friend. He is my neighbor. Y'all hang with me. I'm going somewhere. He's 66 years old, y'all. And this brother is a beast of a trainer. The profound statement that Mike made to me, hear this well, let this sink down in your soul. Mike said to me when we started this journey, he said, Lamont, I don't work out to look like this. I look like this because I work out. Can I translate that for you during this Bible study? I'm not trying what he was saying. I'm not trying nor attempting to achieve a certain look or goal. I'm working on living a certain type of way and a certain type of lifestyle. And because it's my lifestyle and it's a part of my DNA, the results that I desire, they will follow the work that I do. I don't work this way to look a certain way. It's a part of my lifestyle. And you don't have to worry about the results, beloved, because when it's your lifestyle, when it's a part of your DNA, the results that you want will follow. Can I pause right there and say it's not about the size of your shout or how high you jump on Sunday, but rather how straight you walk when you hit the ground on Monday. Let me work this point for just a minute to try to drive it home. Our walk with God, our faith with God has to just be a part of who we are. Not for just a moment, not for on Sunday, not when we're in the sanctuary, not when we're around other Christian people, but it has to be a part of who we are. Y'all stay with me for a minute. I'm about to turn the corner. Mike said to me, watch this. He said, look, we're going to work on some cardio, but you need to stop all that running. You got to dial in. He said, you need to stop all the running and you need to do more strength training. I got it when Mike said it. He says, because all the running that you're doing, you're not putting your body under enough stress to really produce the results that you're trying to get. What was he trying to say? He said you got to build some muscle in order to achieve the results that you want, because the muscle in essence will burn the fat off. Beloved, faith is a muscle that we have to continue to build and to exercise. He said, but the most important thing that we will work on, that we will do, he said that we got to work on your diet. You got to work on how are you fueling yourself? What are you feeding on, and what are you feeding into your body? Because what and how you fuel your body is just as critical, if not more as critical, than the physical activity that you engage in. Somebody ought to hear me up in here, because if you're not feeding the right stuff, you will never see the real results. You will never see the results that you desire in your life when you got a poor diet. That's a PowerPoint right there, because you have to understand that whatever you feed in and whatever you feed on in life, that is what is likely to grow in your life. Whatever you fuel, whatever you nurture, that is what will manifest itself in the greatest magnitude in your life. I discovered I didn't even know, y'all, how to eat, much less how to eat right, because my over 50 crowd can testify to this. It is fun putting it on, but baby, it is hard taking it off. Y'all hang with me. I'm going somewhere. My over 50 crowd would testify that you can't eat certain things no more after 9 o'clock. Because if you eat after a certain time at night, you're going to be up all night. My over 50 crowd would testify and know that you might can't sleep on a certain side and in a certain way all night long, because you're going to be wrong when you wake up the next morning. Y'all ought to hear me and what I'm trying to say. My over 50 crowd will understand that up in here. What are you putting into your spirit during this pandemic is the question. And we have to get our spiritual diet right. Hear me this morning. We got to get our spiritual diet right. If we are to see the results that God has ordained to be ours, you can't continue to do some of the things that you've been doing. You can work just as hard as you want to, but if you're not feeding your spirit with the right faithful fuel, the right inspiration and the right information, you will just be spinning your wheels. Mike said you got to get your diet right. And watch this. He said, watch. He said, you don't have a volume problem. You don't have a consumption problem. It's not that you eat too much. He said you got a choice problem. Somebody just got their power moment right there. Let me park right there for just a moment. Some of us don't have an issue with how much of God we're consuming. We got a problem with the choices that we're making and what we are choosing to consume that God is putting out. Let me push reset. As the Lord brings you out, as you acquire a new taste, as you get a new appetite, you have to be able to assemble sometimes a new team of people in your life that can help you get to your destination. Because one of the most important revelations that I've come to understand that will help you in life is that you got to recognize when you need help. You got to come to grips with the fact that you don't know everything. You don't have all the information. And there are people that specialize and are more expert in certain areas than what you are. But most importantly, the expert that you really need to get in touch with is the one by the name of Jesus, because God is the one that made you and created you, and therefore he specializes in you, and we got to learn to go to him to help us through our situations. Therefore, you can trust that the one who made you is able to handle whatever it is that is breaking out in your life. But then, hear me. But then the pandemic hit, and social distancing started to take place, and my sessions with Mike got shut down. So I did what any self-respecting, committed pastor would do. I built me out my own gym. I built out a gym here at the house. Look, at some point, you got to take ownership for your issues. I'm talking better this evening than y'all are shouting, and it just has to be up to you to make the changes in your life. You can't depend on anyone else than yourself to motivate you on the inside, because all motivation comes from the inside, or starts from the inside and works itself to the outside. You got to be willing to do this thing for yourself. I already had a little bit of equipment at the home, so I upped my gym game. Here's some pictures of my gym game that I had to up my gym game when I couldn't get to Mike. I painted the room. My girls and I put down the floor. We got some gently used equipment, and my last addition, y'all, was these things called these TRX straps that Mike introduced me to. I love these things, and because I wanted to show off my work, I took Lady Chanel into the room, and she was good until she saw these TRX straps. I showed them to her, how they worked. And her and Angel were there in the room, and they started to look at me a little crazy. I'm crushed because I'm proud of my work, y'all. I put a lot into it. I grinded this thing out, and I can't figure out what is wrong. And then Angel says to me, she said, "Daddy, are you sure that these bands will not come out of the ceiling?" She said, "Daddy, they don't look safe to me." I said, no, baby, trust me. It will hold you. That's what I want to talk about this evening. It will hold you. I pulled on them. I supported myself with them. I fully demonstrated these bands to them, but they are still not feeling me, y'all. They're looking like, "Daddy, are you sure that these bands will not break? How are you sure that you can trust what you have connected to? Are these things strong enough to hold us?" They're still looking at me strange, y'all, because I don't want to grab on these things. What Angel said to me, and depend on these things, rest on these things, and put all my weight on these things, and the pressure that I'm going to put these bands under, and then they collapse and they do not hold me. I'm going somewhere. I said, "Trust me, it will hold you." I had to go on to explain to Lady Chanel and to Angel that these straps are anchored, beloved. They're anchored to a beam. They're anchored to a support. They're anchored to the superstructure of the house. And we cannot put enough weight. We cannot put enough pressure on these beams that will move these beams, much less pull these beams down. What they did not know and understand was that I did not just connect the straps into the beam, but I found the center of the beam to connected to. They thought that it would fail because all they could see was the external connection. They couldn't see what was behind the external connection and to see what was really supporting it. See, some people think that you're going to go postal in this pandemic, but what they can't see is what you're holding on to behind the scenes. What they can't really see is what you're connected to underneath. What they can't see is what you got on the inside. Oh, beloved, enough about my fitness journey. Let me connect it to your faith journey. If you know the Lord and you have accepted Jesus the Christ as your personal Savior, I want you to know something today, that your faith connects you to a God that will not fail you. The question is, Daddy, will this hold me? And I want you to know that there are times in your life when you may not be able to see it, but what is holding you is the invisible behind the scenes, and you can trust what you can't see. Trust your faith. Trust that your faith will hold you, because if you hold on to your faith, can I preach all of it? Your faith will hold on to you. If you work it, your faith will work for you. Here's some scripture for you. Proverbs 3:5 says it this way. They said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. It says, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Here's some more scripture for you. We typically use it as a benediction. It says, and now unto him who's able to keep you from falling. Beloved of God, we are in uncharted waters. We are in unprecedented territory. But trust what I tell you, your faith will hold you if you hold on to your faith. I know what I'm talking about because I've seen God keep his promise. I've seen God keep me when I couldn't keep myself. Can I get a witness out there in internet land? Pastor, how do you know? How can you be so sure that God will hold me when all hell is breaking loose in my life? I know because there is so much evidence of his omnipotence. Can I say that again? I know he can hold you because you got evidence of his omnipotence. Omnipotence means that God has not some power, but all power. And you and I have a history. You and I have some evidence of how God operates in excellence. I've seen God make ways out of no way. Not only in my life, but in your life. He's kept me and Lady Chanel. He's kept our children through this ALS journey for 12 years. When the enemy thought he had us down, Jesus came in right on time. No matter where we are or what we need, the Lord has always come through for me, and he's always come through for you. Don't you allow the problems, can I say it up in here? Don't you allow the problems of the present cause you to forget about his faithfulness in your past and the promise that he has for your future. Don't forget how he made a way for you. Don't forget how he showed up in the nick of time. And not only did he show up, but he showed off. You got some evidence of his omnipotence. See, what Lady Chanel and Angel really did not know is that the beam was designed to hold a certain amount of weight. It was designed to hold a certain amount of pressure, a certain amount of stress that I would ever or could ever be able to put this beam under. We've been in this home for almost 20 years, and that beam has never failed me. It's not moved. It stayed where it has supposed to be. It's been something that we could depend on. Well, if I can put my confidence in a beam built by some people that I don't know, in a house that I didn't even construct myself, then I know I can trust the one who shed his blood back on Calvary. What you need to understand, as I shared on our Tuesday call, is that you need in 1 Peter, as 1 Peter talked to us, says, cast your cares upon the Lord. Why? Because he cares. This is what I'm trying to say. You got to give all of this pandemic stuff to the Lord. Trust that the Lord can handle your hurt. Trust that he can manage your mess. Trust that the Lord can help fix your faults, and he has enough grace for whatever is going on in your life. I'm talking better than y'all listening up in here. Trust me, it will hold you. How do you know, preacher? Because it is what you can't see that is keeping you rather than what you can see. Beloved of God, if there's anything that these times should have taught us, These times should have taught us that we cannot necessarily trust anything that we see, and we definitely can't trust some of the things that we are hearing. The visual is not always dependable, and what you think is secure is not always, you cannot always find security in it. We have a witness in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, those things that we thought were solid that changed overnight. And I want to encourage us to put our trust in the Lord. And I hope you realize that it's not the visual that's going to give you the victory. I hope you realize that it has always been what it always is, that's always been supporting you and keeping you. And that's been the Lord making a way for you. You can't trust the government, and you can't trust your job. You can't trust your money. You can't trust your bank account, because those things won't keep you. And I want you to know, as you watch this broadcast, that what you have tapped into, what you have anchored yourself into in the past, what you have connected to by way of your faith, is just as solid today as it was before this pandemic came about into all of our lives. You have seen the power and the omnipotence of God. You have witnessed, and you know that there is no inconsistency in God's performance. God is a consistent performer in your life. God performs every time that you call on him. The other day I went out to our garage to start Lady Chanel's van. Just to check in, to make sure everything was okay. I stuck the key in the ignition, and nothing happened. It was dead, y'all. One of those colorful words almost slipped out of my mouth. Y'all pray for me. It didn't come out. I said it almost. I had to recharge the battery. I'm not sure why it failed. I'm not sure what went wrong. I'm not sure why the vehicle lost its power. But no matter when you call on the Lord, no matter when you stick the keys in to call on him, his power is always there. You can depend on God. God is never dead. He's always alive. There has never been any deterioration in the Lord's ability to keep you. There has been no decay in this pandemic of his divine power. There has been no shift, and there's no move in the benefits of being a believer. Your benefits package is still on steroids. The beam of the Lord is still a solid bridge over all your troubled waters. Lady Chanel and Angel, they only saw the sheetrock. They only saw the outer shell. They knew what they saw on the outside, watch this, was not enough to hold all the weight that they would exert and transfer to these bands. They saw the outside, and they knew that what was on the outside was not enough, but they didn't know that I had found the center of the beam and anchored these bands in the beam. My God, every morning you may wake up and you may look at your external, you may look at your external circumstances, you may see what's going on the outside, and you say, God, I know that that's not enough to make it, but God will let you know that he will handle all of your pressure in this pandemic. He will take care of the stress that society is putting on you. He will take care of the worry of the world, but you got to know that you have tapped into someone who can hold you. Beloved, find the center of your joy and anchor to it and say, Lord, order my steps in your word. I don't have enough. I'm not built that way to sustain all this pressure. But if you will anchor to God, God will anchor to you. What you got to understand is that holding on to the Lord is your ticket to making it through this pandemic. God and Jesus needs to be the center of your joy, because when everything else around your periphery, everything around you is failing, your soul can still remain anchored in the Lord. It can be secure in something that will handle every one of your situations. Proverbs says it this way. It says, trust in the Lord and with all that you have, with everything, and lean not unto your own understanding, because we really don't understand what's going on right about now. We really don't have a clue to what we are going to look like when we come out of this. And it goes on to say, in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. Jude says, now unto him who's able to keep you from falling. You have some evidence of his omnipotence, but you also through these scriptures have some blessed assurance. Oh, beloved, you got to hear me on this afternoon. You have to trust and you have to live with the assurance of knowing that he's able. Jude does not suggest, watch this, he does not suggest that sometimes you may not have some slippage from time to time in your life, but he assures us that he is able to keep you from falling. That means that God will keep you stable in all of your situations. And sometimes as I'm using these bands, sometimes as I'm using these straps, my feet may slip out of them, my hands may slip out of them, but the beam never moves. The support is steady and the anchor remains attached. Listen, all of us from time to time get caught slipping. All of us from time to time are not on our A game. There's nobody that wakes up every single day and is on their A game. You show them to me and I'll call them a liar to their face. There are days in all of our lives when Satan gets a few good shots in. Satan gets a few gut punches in. Every now and then Satan sends you staggering back up against the rope and he gets you on the rope. There will be moments when you feel like you're going down because you're taking blow after blow after blow. But you got to know that God is able to keep you from falling. Watch this. Daniel said it this way. He said, oh no, King. We don't even have to think about that. We don't even have to consider the choice of bowing down or you throwing us in this furnace. Because even if my God does not do it, I will not be moved. I will not bow down. Even if God doesn't do it, I still know that he's able. My God, you got to learn how to live what I know. And I know he's able type of attitude. Trust me, your faith will hold you if you hold to your faith. Your faith will get you through. Listen, I'm not sure that Lady Chanel and Angel really trust my work. I'm not sure that they even believe what I'm telling them, but I need you all to be different. And as you watch this broadcast, you may not can trust my craftsmanship. You may not can trust my skill set. You may not can trust the tools that I use, but I pray you have enough of your own history. I pray you have enough of your own experiences with your God to cast all your cares upon him, to give him all of your anxiety, because the Lord is built to handle all of your heaviness. I'm talking better than y'all are listening. Trust me, the Lord will never let you down. He will never let you fall. Watch this. Every time I used to use these bands, every time I get to use these bands, I get stronger. I get better. I become more flexible. I get more nimble and I get in better shape. And the more you lean on the Lord, the more pressure you put on him, the more you place yourself at his feet, the better you will get. Get your diet right. It's not a consumption problem. It's a choice problem. Get your team right. It's time, y'all, to diversify with some folk that are in your corner that possess some knowledge that you don't have. And most importantly, some people that will help you to stretch your faith and to help you to stretch out on faith. And know that it will hold you if you stretch out on it, because it has always been what you couldn't see that was holding you. It has always been what you didn't know about that was supporting you. Hold on to your faith and your faith will hold on to you. Trust and never doubt, and surely the Lord will bring you out. Daddy, I'm not sure this will hold me. You can cast your cares upon the Lord and say, Daddy, I'm not sure about this thing. This pandemic has got me all up in arms. I'm not sure what's going on, but Daddy, will it hold me? And I trust me when I tell you, your daddy will respond, I got you. Just anchor yourself in me. Find the center of me. Make me the center of your life. Connect yourself and hold fast to my word. Hold fast to my faith, to your faith, and trust I will bring you out of this thing on the other side.
What you gonna do when your back's against the wall?